DisInfosec. Just DisInfosec, the YouTube, DisInfosec, just DisInfosec, the YouTube, DisInfosec. I appreciate your patience today. I'm just going to try and fill in some time, which is, I hope the live captions are working properly. Don't know how many viewers we have. We've got a couple on YouTube. Can you hear me now? I wasn't muted on my. Okay, good. Can you hear me? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good, good. Should I repeat we have more than enough time for Rodrigo's presentation. He was given a longer time slot than he really needed. So he was given a 20-minute time slot for an 8-minute presentation. So now that my audio is working, I just want to say thank you to our corporate sponsors. They are MongoDB, who make database software that's used in the development of mobile applications, and Hack the Box, who are also my employer, who make online hacker training. And 6 lucky people who participate in this contest giveaway will win a VIP Plus membership for 1 year with Hack the Box, and that is worth about $200 US. And so we have a great lineup of speakers. So I'm just going to quickly go over that again. We've got Rodrigo Ferreira coming up in a couple of minutes. Cybercrime Underground, Larissa Breton, Squirrel, Navigating Cybersecurity with a Cognitive Disability, which is at 50 after the hour. And then I will talk about my new book, 8 Steps to Better Security, at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, 8:30 Pacific. We have Kieran Oliver, and they're discussing leveraging neurodivergence in InfoSec at 12:10 Eastern, 11:10 Central, 9:10 Pacific. Jess Schultz, On-Call Exhaustion, Tightropes and You, 12:50 Eastern, 11:50 Central, 9:50 Pacific. Jessica Tubbs, Spin Class and Neurodiverse Hackers Guide to Career Advancement, 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central, 10:30 Pacific. Kat Sweet, Dietary Accessibility in Tech Workplaces, 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central, 11:30 Pacific. Kelly Braun Johnson, Cyber Safety Program for Autistic People, 3:20 Eastern, 2:20 Central, 12:20 Pacific. Catherine DeMisa, Imposter Syndrome versus Bad HR, Maximizing Your Job Hunt, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific. And then Florian Bejer's Hacking Blind on Hacking with a Screen Reader, 4:40 Eastern, 3:40 Central, 1:40 Pacific. And then at 5 Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific, I will have a closing chat. So I want to thank you so much, Chloe, for all of your hard work behind the scenes. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, MongoDB and Hack the Box. Thank you to the wonderful lineup of speakers. Thank you, all of you folks, for tuning in and participating. And now we are going to play Rodrigo's presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, and then we're going to go, there we go. Can you see a PDF that says Cybercrime Underground? I am going to play.
Ms. Rodrigo, and today we will comment a little about the forums and marketplaces on the Onion Network. First of all, I need to apologize for the narration. My English is not fluent and I still don't have a good quality microphone for the presentation. I hope the reading was clear. Any questions? Although all of you certainly have more experience in the field than I do, don't hesitate to send me a message. We can start. Cybercrime Underground. A look from inside. Darknet. You've certainly heard this name a few times. Many if you are involved in the InfoSec community. Whenever a large-scale attack happens, or when some TV show or channel needs content to generate engagement, there goes the old story: hackers leak information. Criminals sell drugs on the deep web. The image created from this huge part of the internet resembles an evil lair full of villains planning the destruction of humanity. Indeed, there are a lot of shadows in this terrain, but most of the dark net is more ordinary than you might think. In this article, we will try to know a little more about these hidden places and the customs of their inhabitants. Let's see what really happens through forums and marketplaces, in addition to the commonly publicized media content. For convenience, we will not cover guns and drug sales. In fact, they do exist. But those who think that this is the largest portion traded in these obscure networks are mistaken. Let's imagine a common user criminal. What environments does he/she frequent? How does he/she carry out her transactions? A few months ago, I searched and frequented these environments to understand how they work. As I said, most of the so-called hacker forums, a term that reinforces the misuse of the word hacker, is absolutely normal and does not differ in any way from a common forum. Here I have filtered the general essence of what defines an environment frequented by cybercriminals. In fact, the infamous forums are quite common, and they're no different from the forums you use yourself. In the so-called hidden wikis, darknet links lists, you can find dozens of forums of the most varied types and focusing on different subjects. In the image, 2 examples of hidden wikis. Links have been blurred to avoid problems with streaming platforms. You know how trivial it is to find those addresses in a quick search. Most forums are free for any consultation. There are rare exceptions where, in order to view the content, you must have a registered account. But the most interesting point of the forums is the data leaks. Every day, users post links to leaked databases of companies, websites, government agencies, cracked software, whatever. The most curious and perhaps unknown fact is that leaks are almost always released for free. These forums use a credits system. Credits are received by a user for participating in the community, commenting and opening topics. When a user posts a link to a leak, he or she includes in the message structure a BBC tag that hides the content from other users. To reveal the message, readers must have a number of credits that will be transferred from their account to the account of the author of the message. Marketplaces work similarly to eBay, Amazon, Mercado Libre and the like. Users create their accounts, can browse the catalog of products and sellers. They make deposits on the platform to pay for their purchases in cryptocurrencies. However, each marketplace has specific local rules. For example, child pornography is prohibited on the vast majority of forums and platforms. Some marketplaces charge fees for each sale. Others only accept accredited sellers, who buy licenses from platform administrators to list their products. This model fends off smaller scammers who would not pay the fees to deceive users with spoof sales. In addition to these protections, when a user makes a purchase, some platforms offer an extra service called escrow or middleman, a third guarantee. In this model, the user will send the payment to the person responsible for the escrow, usually an administrator or moderator of the marketplace. It will confirm payment to the seller, who will ship the product to the customer. This, in turn, confirms the receipt to the middleman, who will transfer the payment to the seller, minus a fee for the service that can be paid by the customer or divided by both parties. It's quite curious how criminals fight scammers in their ecosystem the same way we fight them in ours. About the products, you can find anything you can imagine. The most famous markets include weapons, drugs, fake documents, fake money, hacker services, and some specific types of leaks. However, the vast majority are stolen accounts, especially PayPal accounts or credit card information. In the 2 images below, you can see ads on different websites. Note how the prices are much lower than the balance or limit of the accounts. Criminals use stolen accounts not only to shop, but to launder money coming from other crimes. Nothing better for them than valid accounts in other people's names. Also, there is no trust among the thieves. A criminal among other criminals obviously cannot trust anyone. The entire structure of interaction between the parts in this underworld takes this into account. We've already talked about the forums that actually exist and how access to them can be restricted. But we haven't commented on one thing. Most of these forums use the MyBB framework or adaptations. MyBB is an open source forum system with an interesting feature. User profiles have a value called reputation. Users can increase or decrease another user's reputation based on their behavior on the platform. This mechanic is often used to flag scammers. So it's an excellent sign of the trust placed in a user by the community at large. We also talked about marketplaces and also left an important comment aside. Sometimes a criminal creates a marketplace and maintains it for a few months to gain users. At some point, he or she performs what is called an exit scam. That is, it completely closes the platform, disappearing with all deposits and purchased vendor licenses. When this happens, usually all other forums inform users of what happened. This is what can be seen in the image below, taken from the Dread forum. Trust is another reason why criminals use cryptocurrencies such as Monero. Cryptocurrencies are systems that require zero trust between two trading parties. Once an amount is sent, it is virtually impractical to forfeit the amount or cancel the transaction. A fun fact, lots of cyber criminals have abandoned Bitcoin due to the ease with which coins can be tracked. Monero is currently the default currency alongside physical money for most of the criminals. And this pattern repeats. There are a myriad of forums and marketplaces. We can talk about the individual characteristics of each for weeks on end. But the main aspects, the central elements, will always be identical or close to those shown here. In addition to them, there are less interesting but noteworthy features. 1. When browsing through a forum or marketplace, you come across armies of CAPTCHAs of all kinds. These platforms are at constant risk of DDoS attacks. They don't have anyone to turn to in situations like this, so their protections against automation are massive to the point of hampering normal users' browsing. 2. The darknet is not only populated by cybercriminal forums. There are free speech forums for restricted regions such as China, North Korea, and some countries in the Middle East. News sites. Even the CIA and Facebook have domains on the Onion network. And that ends with our tour today. I hope it was interesting, albeit short. This document will be available for download. At the end of it are some links where you can find me. It was specially written for DisInfosec 2021. I promise that I will be better prepared for next year. Thank you very much, and I see you in the wild.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. That was a great presentation. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm just going to go on Twitch right now. Okay, YouTube. Can YouTube hear me? Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for that awesome presentation, Corvo. I have been known to go on the dark web to do cyber threat intel. And so I think that's really solid intel you got there. Thank you very much. So it is 10:45 a.m. Eastern at 50 after the hour. In your time zone, we will move on to Larissa Breton's presentation, Squirrel, Navigating Cybersecurity with a Cognitive Disability. So that's going to be 10:50 Eastern, 9:50 Central, and 7:50 Pacific. We have 5 minutes before Larissa's presentation. So first of all, I want to discuss the disabled people that we're raising money for. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up, I'm going to go to the DisInfosec website here. That's disinfosec.tech. And I'm going to show you this, and there we go. So I'm going to share my screen again, just very briefly here. I appreciate your patience with me. All right, so this is the DisInfosec website. And if you see here, after the schedule, there's a section on raising funds. So we're supporting Ash Gray, who needs a service dog. We're supporting Moira, who needs living expenses. And we're supporting Eve Banshee, who needs a safe place to live. So attending this event is free of charge, but if you can afford to donate money, please go to disinfosec.tech for links on how to help these wonderful folks and toss them a little bit of money if you can afford to do so. Out of the sponsorship funds that we got from MongoDB, we donated some money to each of those crowd funds. So thank you very much, MongoDB. That was a big help. That money has also gone toward paying our awesome video stream director, Chloe, known as Flying Kada on Twitch and YouTube. She is an absolutely awesome Twitch streamer. I've checked out her video game streams. I highly recommend that you follow her on Twitch. So it's Flying, FLYING KAIDA on Twitch. She's the one who's working behind the scenes today. And she has a really great video game streaming channel. And I highly recommend that you check it out. So we have 2 minutes till Larissa's presentation. I'm just gonna send a little message to my director. So Larissa's presentation is Squirrel, Navigating Cybersecurity with a Cognitive Disability. So okay, great. So Larissa's here. We've got 2 minutes. A lot of us who work in cybersecurity have cognitive disabilities. I'm autistic and I have ADHD. I think there are a lot more neurodivergent people in cybersecurity than there are in most other industries. So I think there's something about our neurodivergence that makes us good at that sort of work. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Larissa has to say. She has a live presentation and she's going to start in less than a minute. And I'm just going to be watching. I'm just passive here. Okay, we've got Larissa online. Great. She's going to.
Good morning. Hi, I'm so happy to see you.
And she's going to start in less than a minute. And I'm just going to be watching. I'm just passive here. Okay, we've got Larissa online.
Good morning.
Okay.
I'm so happy to see you. Mwah. Hello, everybody.
I'm going to stop my video here. You've got the stage.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to be part of Kim's event this morning. And I'm Larissa. I'm sitting in front of the fabulous varnished doors of my Cloffice. Love 2020, love 2021. I'm going to share screen in just a minute and get into my presentation, but I first wanted to say a huge thank you to Kim for putting this conference on and taking on some really tough issues that we need to get at in our industry in a way that's really meaningful and in a way that goes past lip service, right? And so to be able to get into and unpack a lot of these issues today is going to be really important for us. I want to thank Kim's team, Chloe, and everybody who's helping to make the event a success. And I really want to thank the sponsors, MongoDB and Hack the Box, because you're awesome to support this. And I also want to thank anybody who's attending today, not because these are your issues, not because you've got a friend presenting, but because you're a manager, an owner or a manager in cybersecurity and InfoSec, and you want to learn this and you want to be a better ally, or you want to start being an ally. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to remember ADHD, neurocognitive disability. I may faff this on my first try, but I'm going to share screen. Will I get like a little talkie window in my presentation, Kim or Chloe? Let's see what happens.
Will you get a talkie window? You mean like, do you have access to the chat?
Like, will it show me talking or is it just going to show my slides?
It's just gonna, yeah, if you share your screen, it will switch from your video feed to what you're showing on your screen.
Okay, so I hope that you now see my slide. Everybody good? Can I get an amen?
Yes, we see your slide.
Okay, great, thank you, I appreciate you. All right, so today I'm gonna be talking about navigating cybersecurity as a field, but also as a workplace issue if you have a neurocognitive disability such as ADHD. It's just my personal opinion. Just going to start today by telling you the scope of this presentation. It is my personal experience, and this is the first time I have ever publicly spoken about having a very acute neurocognitive disability in the workplace. I've been aware of these issues. I've dealt with them myself sort of under the radar for a long time. And in fact, Kim, I started professional life as a journalist, and believe it or not, I was at the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1991. I covered it. I'm very intimate with what that law did and has done, and all of the ground that we still have to cover. So I'm only speaking for myself. I'm only speaking about my disability and my co-traveling disabilities that go along with it. Your mileage may vary. I may not be speaking directly to what you experience, but I think what I experience is generalizable to some of the bigger issues that we have in the workplace and in cybersecurity as a field. So about me. I own a business. I've worked in cybersecurity for 16 or 17 years. I work for other people. I have clients, I have internal customers, and I also do, hiring and management of people. I'm also an academic and a researcher. You may know me from such hits as virtual non-state actors as Clausewitzian and Centers of Gravity. I've been published in the Small Wars Journal and some compendia, IEEE policy advisories and things like that. I'm also a professor, an adjunct at a couple of universities. I am a mom. I am a mom to kids and dogs and other animals. And I am a person who is living for the rest of my life with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and some visual processing disorders. For those, I hope everybody understands this reference, but there's a wonderful movie called Up, in which there's a dog who has a collar that can say what his thoughts are. And he's giving a lot of attention to the main character of the movie, but then a squirrel goes by and he says, "I love you, you're the squirrel." And his attention is diverted throughout the movie. So that's kind of where I got this. So just briefly about ADHD. This isn't an academic presentation. I'm really not here to be sort of your one-stop shop for where to find resources, but I will say that they are very easy to find. They're out there. There are advocacy groups. There's a hashtag on Twitter, hashtag ADHD or hashtag ADHD life. And you can get a lot of good information from the National Institutes of Health PubMed, their public database of papers. So generally, what type of disability is it? It's neurocognitive. What does it affect? It hits executive functioning. It hits balance. It hits proprioception, which is my ability to sense correctly things that are in my physical field around me, where I am, where my body is in space. It can also affect your circadian rhythms and really mess around with your sleep cycles, your waking cycles, your attention, when you have your best attention and stuff like that. Anyone can have ADHD, anyone, kids, grown-ups, young people, old people, middle-aged people, and it really has unknown causes. Genetics could be a factor, environment could be a factor. It just is. And there are co-occurring conditions that travel along with ADHD. In my case, and I'm just going to speak for myself today, in my case, it's visual processing disorders. What that means is that I can't always understand information that's being presented to me visually, especially if it's on a screen, and especially if it's pictographical, you know what I mean? Those little icons that sort of look like everything and nothing, those. It also makes it very difficult for me to look at a screen full of code. It makes command line navigating very, very tough. So perhaps for those reasons, professionally, my lane is audit, assessment, and policy. I think we tend to gravitate to the thing that we're able to do best. So those are the things that I do best. I want to just pause and ask if there are any questions and also look at the chat really quickly. Okay, if anyone has any questions on the Twitch stream, please, if someone will jump in and let me know, because of my disability, I'm not able to look at both at the same time without getting sick. Okay. My next slide. All right. So what does having executive functioning difficulty mean in the workplace? It means that you may have trouble with impulsivity, your ability to withhold reactions, your ability to not take action or to take action when it's indicated. It can affect your time management, your sense of time. As myself, I'm just going to speak for myself as someone who's living with ADHD. I am insatiably curious. Everything is interesting. Everything is too interesting. I go down a lot of rabbit holes, and that can really affect your time management. There is attention deficit disorder and there's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I have hyperactivity disorder. It means I'm always moving. That can make corporate life very difficult because in corporate life, we're encouraged to be farmers in that we tend things and we sort of stay still and we tend things. Whereas someone with ADHD would be more like a hunter. We're out there, we're walking, we're moving, we're doing stuff, we're engaging with stuff. So physically, it's not a great match to be in corporate life as someone with ADHD in general. We have differing perceptions. Physically, literally, we may perceive information, our surroundings, our physical environment very differently than someone who doesn't share this neurocognitive disability. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just different. We may perceive subtleties that others do not. We may miss subtleties that others have, particularly if our attention is on something else. In my experience as someone with the disability, but also managing other people, sometimes someone with ADHD will pop up and have a really great systemic view. They'll develop a systemic view of something because they've had to navigate it. And in order to navigate it and understand it, they've systematized it, and they will come up with a beautiful forest picture when you're talking about a tree. Conversely, I can go get really, really focused on a tree when really I should be zoomed out to look at the forest. Last but not least, if you have ADHD and if you're watching this or participating on this today, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're wired and you're tired. It's like having a little engine in your head that will not turn off. You're always chugging. And even though you're very tired, physiologically, you are compelled to keep chugging. So that can be very difficult. Managing one's energy in the workplace can be very difficult. All right. I decided today to keep this presentation very light on pictures. I don't know the audience very well. So this picture is of the same dog sitting with the cone on his neck, and it's the cone of shame, and he's very sad. And the caption says, "I don't like the cone of shame." Having this set of differences in the workplace, particularly when you're hiding it, particularly when you're overcompensating on a less native way of being in order to produce in the workplace, in order to minimize any friction that you may be having with your team or your management or your workflow, can really lead you to being very exhausted. But what it also leads to is a lot of shame and self-loathing. It is incredibly difficult. I'm going to get into that in the workplace in just a minute. But if you are neuronormative and you're dealing with people who have neurocognitive disabilities, I would just really invite you to understand that they're tired. They're fearful, usually, because, they've been down this road a few times and they've had consequences to stuff that they've maybe now learned to manage. And probably they have a lot of shame that they're hiding. That can come out in other ways. Just frequently there can be substance abuse and stuff like that can travel along with shame. So those are some of the things that go on in the workplace. Now, what adds friction to this is if you're in a workplace where you're in a basically like 24/7 uptime, 24/7 on call, And you have to be reactive and responsive in a very measured and predictable way to a stochastic security environment, a security environment that's always changing and coming at you. If you have ADHD, you're kind of like a Superman. You have really great superpowers in dealing with some of these aspects of working in security. You're able to respond quickly. You're able to analyze things very quickly. You're able to change gears very, very quickly. But hyper-focus, hyper-attentiveness, and a constant undercurrent of managing your disability in the context of your relationships with people and workflow can be kryptonite. So you have strong strengths and also very powerful deficits that frequently do not even out on a continuum, I guess is what I'll say. It's not all bad. If you have a person with ADHD on your team, they're going to bring a very different perspective. They're going to bring a very different pace of work. And that can be managed and that can be accommodated for. And it can lend a lot of strength to your team. We talk about diversity, we talk about resilience. That starts with having a team that looks at all different aspects of something and has very, very different capabilities. Those are called complementary strengths, and we need them. But in the workplace, managers can attempt to be empathetic. They can attempt to understand the issue or apply what we call mirror imaging, how they project themselves onto the disability. And I want to make some comparison for comparison's sake to talk about the extremity of my disability in the workplace. A manager will sometimes say, if you disclose yourself to a manager, they'll sometimes say, oh, I understand. I think I have ADHD too, or oh, I get it. I have ADHD moments all the time. Here's the problem with that. That's harmful empathy because ADHD never goes away. You never don't have it. It's not a momentary loss of executive functioning. It is permanently not there. So an ADHD moment doesn't equal having a neurocognitive disability. You wouldn't say to someone who's living in a wheelchair, oh, I broke my ankle one time. I understand everything about what you're going through. You got this. If you're living your life without vision, it would be very inappropriate for a manager to say to you, oh, I had an eye infection once. I understand. But those are direct analogs to what we receive as people with a neurocognitive disability because it's not physically, visibly evident. Okay, and it's human nature. I understand. We easily understand things that we can perceive easily. So accommodating someone with a neurocognitive disability is going to require a deeper understanding of the disability than what the manager may have experienced on a bad day or a bad week. Why? Why? Because when you make a false equivalence about someone with ADHD or a neurocognitive disability, you are applying moral and intentional judgment. And that leads to the most dreaded word to a person with ADHD, the word just. If anybody else who's watching today, participating today, heard that word and just like cringed a little bit inside, I understand. When I hear it, my eyes fill up with tears. Just try a little harder, they'll tell you. The person with ADHD is trying as hard as they possibly can already. They know they're operating from a deficit and they're working extra hard to overcome that deficit to be where you need them to be. They're already trying hard. Just focus. You know what? If the person with ADHD could focus as well or as consistently as you could, we wouldn't have a disability. Just get a good night's sleep. ADHD is a permanent condition. It is not necessarily affected in a persistent way by some of the lifestyle factors that might be useful to other people. And why don't you just care? You just don't seem like you care. Again, the person with ADHD cares passionately. enormously, and they want to do their very, very best. So what does this mean in security? It means that accommodation in the workplace for someone with a neurocognitive disability means that you have to do the neurocognitive equivalent of installing ramps, making things that don't need to be difficult, not difficult. We know from the implementation of the physical requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 here in the United States, that when you install a ramp next to a staircase, what happens is that everybody starts using the ramp, and it makes getting into that facility easier for everyone, not just the person with the stated or obvious physical disability. The same thing is true in the workplace, and the same thing is true in security. So I think we all can immediately, understand some use cases, but I'll just briefly, I'm good on time. I'll just briefly touch a couple. As a manager, if your employee with ADHD is hitting milestones and doing their work, meeting their deadlines, if the way that they approach their work is not harming anything, let them be. That's one accommodation. You do not need to micromanage every work step. And a person with ADHD is probably going to chunk their work out and do it differently. So allowing someone to take their own approach to achieving their milestones without feeling like you have to sit on their shoulder would be very useful. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to be mindful and sensitive that someone with ADHD who's very distractible or who has a co-occurring condition like a visual processing disorder, frequently you'll see people making presentations, and as they think and talk, they'll move their cursor around on the screen. Tell you what, that will throw someone with ADHD right off the rails. They're gone. So be mindful before you make a presentation. Ask, does anyone here have a reason, or is there anything I can do here to accommodate someone by not moving my cursor or by talking through pictures or adjusting the pace of my presentation? Those are some very simple use cases. But last but not least, as someone who's worked around the policies of this, as someone who's been in the workplace and dealing with myself, colleagues, direct reports, and hires, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. Talk it through, put everything on the table, and get through it. So with that, I want to move into a larger issue that pertains to security that we all need to think about as practitioners, the public. Our attack surface is getting wider, it's getting deeper. The edge is simply endemic. Everything now is edge. Everything is edge security. And we have an aging population. So when you look at the workplace issues that I just went through, impulsivity, time management, fidgeting, different perceptions, and differences with subtleties, if you look at the population as it's aging and it's going into cognitive decline as a function of aging, it's going to happen to all of us. Their impulsivity increases, ability to manage time or complex issues decreases, dexterity issues increase, differing perceptions are exaggerated, and subtleties are lost or gained. This is an end user population that is growing and it's slowing. And we can draw an analog between our colleagues with ADHD, perhaps, and a general population when we think about what our expectations of them should be from a security perspective, but what we're asking them to do as a user population. And I will point back to some of the accommodations that might be useful in the workplace are the same accommodations, use cases, or UX thoughts that could go into making security requirements for the end user serviceable. I think it's very important. I think that we're really to just mix metaphors terribly, we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater if we miss the opportunity to make things easier for the end user. And I'm not talking about like the grandma on Facebook. I'm talking about like the program manager in the corner office, right? If we make security easier to use, easier to build, easier to maintain, easier to use, easier to report, and easier to implement, I think, we have a bigger win than just the win of creating a better workspace that lets people with ADHD shine. So that's my presentation today. I would love to take some questions, or if you have a difference of opinion, I'd love to hear it. I'm going to go back to the top of my deck so that you can get my contact information, reach out in any way that you like, and I'm always happy to talk to folks about these or any other issues you want to talk about. So again, thank you so much to Kim and Rin and Kat. Later today, we'll be talking about different aspects of this, and I'm really super excited to hear what they're gonna be sharing with you. It's going to be great. So thanks again for having me. What they're going to be sharing with you is going to be great. So thanks again for having me. Sharing with you is going to be great. So thanks again for having me. Sharing with you is going to be great. Thanks again for having me.
All right. Well, it's 11:16 a.m. Eastern, 10:16 a.m. Central, and I believe it's 8:16 a.m. Pacific. Is that right, Chloe? So Larissa's presentation was excellent. She made a lot of really great points about accommodating disabled people in tech workplaces. Her presentation was scheduled to go on until 30 minutes after the hour, but it's 17 minutes after the hour. So, sometimes brevity is the soul of wit, as William Shakespeare used to say. So I can just fill up time here. The next presentation is actually mine, 8 Steps to Better Security, a book preview. So I'm going to be here until 12:10 Eastern, 11:10 Central, 9:10 Pacific when Kieran Oliver goes on to discuss leveraging neurodivergence in InfoSec. So, can everyone hear me? I'm looking at the Twitch chat right now. Okay, excellent. Wow, I'm seeing myself. That's kind of weird. I'm just trying to be relaxed here. I've watched Flying Kata's Twitch stream, and she is really great for making her viewers feel at ease. And I'm gonna, oh, look, it's my boyfriend, Jay Schizoid, saying, I can hear you in YouTube. Hi, Darlene. Have a good day at work, Darlene. He's going to work today. He works in a bar. So, but he said, I'm going to watch some of your event. So that's, thank you, Darlene. So I've got some time to fill up here, right? Because, yeah, so we've already had some entries in our giveaway, thanks to our sponsor, Hack the Box, who are giving away 6 VIP Plus memberships for a year. We still need some more winning responses. So if you go to bit.ly/DisInfosec VIP, you still have a chance of winning one of these VIP Plus memberships. So I strongly encourage you to enter. There is a link in the Google form that will show you what the winning response is. So don't worry if you're not too familiar with Hack the Box's products. I basically give away the correct answer. So it's just, here in Canada, we have a law about contests, which is there has to be some sort of test of skill. And if there isn't a test of skill, then it's gambling, and then it's regulated as gambling. So here in Canada, when a company or some sort of organization has a contest, they try to put in a skill testing question, such as an arithmetic problem, for instance. But so I just kind of follow the tradition of the country that I happen to be in. So your skill testing question is, name one of Hack the Box's pro labs. And there's a link to the correct answer. And every response we've gotten so far has been a correct answer. But there are still VIP Plus memberships that you can win. So I strongly recommend, here's the address again. I strongly recommend that you go in and you try to win one. This could be your chance to learn how to be a professional hacker. And those jobs pay very well if you can get them. And in fact, not only will Hack the Box provide you with the training, but in my company, we also help place people into jobs because we work with a lot of employers. So if you want a good paying pen testing career, you know, entering this contest could be your first step. So I really want to thank my employer, Hack the Box, for doing that. That was really cool. I want to thank MongoDB for donating a lot of money to our cause. They make really awesome database software, which drives mobile applications. I want to thank Lena Smart for connecting me. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chloe. You're doing an absolutely awesome job of running the technical end of this presentation so far. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Larissa again for her really great presentation. She made a lot of points that really resonated with our Twitch audience about accommodating disabled people in the workplace. When workplaces decide to accommodate disabled people, everyone wins, because disabled people have a lot of strengths and talents to offer the workplace. And when our accommodation needs aren't met, then everyone loses. You got like a whole pool of talent that you're excluding because you're not bothering to accommodate us. And I'm not the first one to notice that neurodivergent people are more common in the tech sector than we are in other industries. There's just something about our neurodivergent brains that gives us talents for areas. Like my particular area of work is cybersecurity research and writing about it. And I run Hack the Box's blog, and I also write books. So I have a book that is already out in ebook format and will be released on paperback on October 5th. And there will be an audiobook also released later this year by Wiley, which is 8 Steps to Better Security, a simple cyber resilience guide for business. And in my presentation that is coming up in 7 minutes, I'm going to discuss my book. So I might as well, like, it's my party and I can cry if I want to, or talk about the book that I want people to buy if I want to. Talking about self-promo, I would like to encourage everyone to check out Chloe's Twitch channel, which is her username on Twitch is Flying Kada. So her Twitch channel is at twitch.tv/flying FLYING, Kaida, KAIDA. I've checked out her streams before. She is a really charming and welcoming video game Twitch streamer, and she streams all kinds of like really interesting games. She showed me the last Twitch stream of hers that I watched. She was showing a really cool Pokemon clone that is available on Steam, I believe. I forget what it's called. But that's one of the really cool things about watching a Twitch streamer like Flying Kada is they introduce you to games that you've never heard of. In fact, some indie games like Among Us became commercially popular and successful because of their popularity with Twitch streamers. So the video game industry has changed an awful lot since I started playing video games. I got my first NES in 1989. So that was when the NES was current. And so the world of video games has changed an awful lot since then. But it also means I have been playing video games longer than a large segment of the video game market has been alive. Like 1989 is like 32 years ago. I've been playing video games for 32 years. Holy cow. So 5 minutes. I mean, I might as well start my presentation early as well, since you're all here and since I'm here. Just a couple of quick reminders before we go on. I'm going to share my, let's see here. First of all, I got to so I'm going to share my screen briefly. So, so there we go. So first of all, I want to remind everyone to go to disinfosec.tech. That's disinfosec.tech. And not only can you see a schedule for today's event, we are also raising funds for a few different disabled people. This is a free event. You are free to enjoy the event free of charge. But if you have a little bit of money to spare, please go to our website and support these lovely people. We've got my friend Ash Gray, who is known as Crippled Scholar on Twitter, and they need a service dog. I've already donated money to them out of my own funds, and I've also donated some of MongoDB's corporate sponsorship money. I've done the same with Moira. Moira needs living expenses help. And we've got Eve Banshee, who needs a safer place to live. So I've pitched in, MongoDB has pitched in. If you can afford to pitch in, then please visit disinfosec.tech to find out how you can do that. And so I'm gonna, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So I'm gonna start discussing my book in a few minutes. I'm gonna give everyone another reminder. You still have a chance to win a VIP Plus membership from Hack the Box. And Hack the Box is known for having really great cybersecurity training for people who have already worked in the industry, people who already consider themselves to be master hackers. But contrary to popular belief, we also have hacking labs and we have machines, and we're relaunching our starting point program very soon, which has machines which are accessible and appropriate for total noobs. So if you've never worked in IT, if you have no IT knowledge, if you've never hacked, if you know absolutely nothing about computer programming, we can still teach you how to become a pro hacker at Hack the Box. We have a lovely supportive community on Discord, and we have our own forum. I run Hack the Box's blog. Sodi Roadrunner, I'm going to totally mess up the pronunciation of her last name. But her name is Sodi. My friend Sodi is HTB's community manager. And it was her decision to give away these VIP Plus memberships to a few lucky people at this event. So I want to thank Sodi very much on behalf of Hack the Box for her generosity. We have a couple of winning entries already. We have a couple of lucky people who have won. They're going to find out soon that they've won VIP Plus memberships, but there are still a few more to win. So there's the address, bit.ly/DisInfosec VIP. Check it out. This could be your foot in the door to an exciting and highly paid cybersecurity career. So I am going to share my screen in about a minute and discuss my new book. So actually, I might as well do that now. Okay, this is my presentation for the event. And this is the wrong web browser window. So this is the book. It's titled 8 Steps to Better Security, a Simple Cyber Resilience Guide for Business. I need to take a sip of my beverage. My mouth gets dry. If you're constantly talking, your mouth will get dry. So I wrote this. It's published by Wiley Tech. And this book is great for 2 types of people. The primary audience that I wrote this book for is completely non-technical business people, because the cyber threat landscape is constantly evolving, and all businesses, regardless of how small or how large they are, or which industry they're in, or where in the world they're in, all businesses need to prepare for cybersecurity and security hardening. And I'm just going to double check and make sure that my mic is on. Yeah. I'm going to go to Twitch. Can everyone hear me? Everyone on Twitch, can you hear me? Okay, no one's saying that they can't hear me, so I'm going to assume that you can hear me. So one audience that's great, thank you, folks. And Flying Kata says, my phone hears you. And Kat says, we hear you. Okay. Because that little technical problem we had at the beginning was a little embarrassing, but we got audio working now, so that's good. Thank you so much for your help, Chloe. Thank you. So let's discuss my book. My book is good for non-technical business people to learn how to get started to improve the cybersecurity of their business, regardless of its size, regardless of its industry, regardless of where in the world they are. And then the other audience that might find my book useful are people in the cybersecurity field who just want general cybersecurity hardening advice for businesses. This book should be approachable to completely non-technical people, but I offer a lot of great tips. And I also get into some personal stuff, because there is no one in this industry who can make a book about cybersecurity personal the way I can. This is my own purchased ebook copy via Google Play. The ebook is available on Google Play. If you prefer Amazon Kindle, it's available there too. I'm pretty sure it's available via Barnes & Noble, via their Nook app. So most places that sell new ebooks, you should be able to buy my book. On October 5th, the paperback will be available. So that will be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo here in Canada. Anywhere basically that sells new books about computer technology, you should be able to buy this book on paperback. And then later this year, it's either later this year or early in 2022, the audiobook will be available. So that will be on Audible, it'll be on audiobooks.com, it'll be everywhere else that you buy audiobooks. So let's get into my book here. So here's the table of contents to give you some idea of what's in my book. So the 8 steps are basically 8 different areas that you need to be focusing on in order to improve the cybersecurity of your business. So we start by fostering a strong security culture, and then we move on to building a security team, and then regulatory compliance. Regulatory compliance is super important because those fines can really kill a business if they're found to be non-compliant. And then frequent security testing. That encompasses not only penetration testing, but also vulnerability assessments. And I get into the security maturity topic. And then there's security framework application. So there are cybersecurity frameworks that companies can use to design their cyber incident response policies. Controlling your data assets. So data assets are any of your data that's on some sort of storage medium, in your local network, in your cloud network, on your endpoints, on your servers, on a floppy disk that's in your boss's filing cabinet, anywhere you got data stored. This will show you how to better secure that data. Then we've got understanding the human factor, because believe it or not, the vast majority, not the vast majority, but I would say most, at least like 75% or so of cyber exploits involve social engineering at some point or another. That's deceiving a human being in order to acquire unlawful access to data. So that could include phishing attacks, which uses web pages or emails or text messages or social media posts where you pretend to be a trusted organization like a bank or Amazon, your employer or the government, but you're not. You're just pretending to be them in order to get information out of an entity that you're not entitled to have. Autistic people will be really happy that I totally trash ABA in this chapter. I was given pretty much total creative freedom when I was writing this book. And I really pushed to get some disability activism in my book. So I see parallels between ABA, which is harmful conversion therapy. And we know that conversion therapy is tremendously traumatizing and wrong when it's done for gay people or people who don't conform to outdated and strict gender conformity standards or transgender people. Most people who consider themselves to be progressive can understand that forcing people to be a gender or a gender expression or a sexual orientation that they are not is traumatizing. We need to increase awareness that forcing an autistic person to stop acting autistic is also deeply traumatizing for the same reason. And there's an element of social engineering BS involved in that. So I also diss NFTs because NFTs are a total scam. Don't buy NFTs, folks. So I get into that, and UI and UX design and hacktivism. So that's the social aspect of cybersecurity. And then we move on to building redundancy and resilience. So that's in your networks. It involves backing up your data, building capacity and scalability. Business continuity and disaster recovery is very important. You want to know that your business operations can continue when something really terrible happens. Sometimes that's cyber attacks. Sometimes that's natural disasters like floods and hurricanes and stuff like that. So always be prepared for really bad stuff to happen. And then in chapter 9, I just kind of recap everything. I recommend books on each of the topics if people want to explore those topics further. And this is the busy corporate executive reading my book who wants to remember, what did I just read in this book? This chapter recaps all that and recommends resources for further reading. I know that there are, Kat, exactly. I don't know if it's appropriate to say that word on the stream, but why not? Fuck ABA. So we have a lot of autistic people watching, so I might as well just show you this part of the book. Oh yeah, I skipped past it, yikes. We are live, folks. Okay, I'm going to go back to the table of contents. Some of my UI is covered up with the Zoom stuff. There we go. Okay, so first of all, I trash NFTs because basically NFTs, you're not owning something. You're buying a receipt to something that you don't actually own, like a graphic on someone's website, for instance. You don't own that, but the NFT is saying, this is you claiming that graphic on someone else's website. But it's not yours, and the person who administrates that web server can get rid of that graphic on their web server, and then that graphic no longer exists at that URL anymore. And also it's contributing to the global warming problem, the climate change problem. It's bad, the impact of cryptocurrency generation on our rapidly deteriorating climate is bad enough. Adding NFTs to those blockchains is making that problem even worse. So I totally trash NFTs. And then we go on to ABA. So yes, I do use my platform in this industry and with major publishers to promote disability rights. So thank you, Wiley, for allowing that to make the final cut of the book. So yeah, the same asshole who invented gay conversion therapy, transgender conversion therapy, also invented ABA. And he didn't think any of us were people. So a lot of ABA practitioners these days will use their own social engineering techniques, and they will say, oh, it's different now. We don't beat children to submission. But rewarding people to act less gay or less autistic is traumatizing as well. You need to let people be their own natural selves. And, if people think it's kind of silly that I'm finding a connection between social engineering attacks and ABA, it's not silly at all. ABA practitioners are given manuals on how to hard sell ABA with parents. They're given manuals on how to sell governments to pay for their abusive practices. And those are a lot of the same social manipulation techniques that cyber attackers use. So it takes an autistic person writing about cybersecurity to find the parallels. So that's what I did. So if we can promote the ideas that NFTs and ABA are total trash with this book, then I've used my platform to make the world a better place. So I get into a lot of stuff here. I get into like a lot of personal tangents. This is a very personal book, even though it's full of great advice about security hardening. So yeah, there's the introduction chapter. I write in a very conversational style. I always recommend to writers, including on Hack the Box's blog, to write to people as if they are your friend and you're just talking to them about something that you're excited about. I like this paragraph I wrote here. That's what I love to do, take useful information, share it in simple language, and break it down into manageable little bites. This book won't make your brain hurt. You can read one chapter at a time, or even just a few pages at a time, and glean useful insight that you can use in your everyday lives, as long as working in a business is part of your everyday life. Yeah, I get really personal in this book. And we describe each of the chapters here. There we go. You know what? Honestly, the first book that I worked on was with Phil Wiley last year, the Pentester Blueprint. So we were both co-authors of that book, but it was based on Phil Wiley's ideas about how to become a pen tester. Great book if you want to get into the industry and learn how to start. But after working with Phil, I was really itching to work on my own book based on my own ideas. So I came out of the gate running here. These are my ideas about cybersecurity and a lot of other things that I think are really important. And at some point, I'm going to wander into a bookstore and I'm going to see this book on the shelf, and I'm going to have well, it was already kind of cool to go to the bookstore, go to the computer section and see the Pentester Blueprint on shelves, and to also see my entry in Tribe of Hackers. So yeah, seeing yourself, I mean, it's one thing to go on Amazon and to see that Amazon is selling your book, but I was born in the early 1980s. I remember a world before ebooks. And so even if the ebook version of this book sells a lot more copies than the paperback, it doesn't really feel real until you got like the physical copy in your hands and you go to an old-fashioned bookstore and you see your book on the shelves. That's, if I was Gen Z, maybe I would feel differently about that, because Gen Z, I think, has never known a world before the internet. I mean, the internet has existed for a long time, like since the early 80s, but since the internet use was common and popular. I remember a world before people didn't have internet access in their homes and they didn't have little mobile computers in their pockets. So, I mean, honestly, I buy a lot of books in ebook format because one of my favorite ways to read a book is to sit in bed and it's almost bedtime and it's dark in my bedroom, and to, just to bury myself under the covers. And ebooks are great for that because the screen is glowing. Your smartphone or tablet is very portable. So that's one way that ebooks are very useful. So I read a lot of books in bed before bedtime. So that's when I typically go for the ebook format. I go for the physical book format when I want to see something physical on my bookshelf. And then a lot of people also find that they really enjoy audiobooks. And I like listening to audiobooks, and I like listening to podcasts. And audiobooks, especially if they're a nonfiction audiobook, is just like a really, really, really long podcast. And people like listening to audiobooks in their car or while they're riding their bicycles or on public transit. I like listening to podcasts and audiobooks, frankly, when I'm in the bathtub. I'm ADHD, so I need constant stimulation, right? And audiobooks also make books accessible for blind people. So I'm really happy that it's important to Wiley to release the book in multiple formats. If they ever release this book in a language other than English, I will be really happy about that too. I don't think I've ever had a book published in any language other than English. So, thank you, Chloe. So we've got, I believe, 25 minutes. Actually, we have 23 minutes. So I'm going to discuss my book a little more. So we start with fostering a strong security culture. That's really important because culture is something that people do as a group. Culture is the habits that people develop as a group. It's what you do as a group without deliberately thinking about it. Everyone's actions within an organization or a business have some impact on your cybersecurity. Even the janitor, even the receptionist, all these people are gatekeepers to your company's data. So the first step is always to foster a strong security culture, which is something that you do in your everyday actions. As I say, cybersecurity is as much a human area of study as it is a technological area of study. So that's very important. So you foster a strong security culture, and then you move on to building a strong security team. And this chapter is controversial. One of the reasons why it's controversial is that you'll hear some people in our industry, not people who are actual cybersecurity practitioners, but usually business groups like Cybersecurity Ventures, Steve Morgan. I didn't say that. You didn't hear that. But some people in our industry are propagandizing the idea that there is a cybersecurity skills gap because people in the workplace, people in the job market just don't have these cyber skills that they need. So the problem is the fault of job applicants, or the problem is the fault of these colleges and universities that aren't training people to have the right skills that they need. So they can't find people with the right skills, and they got to go to industry publications and whine about this while they leave cybersecurity roles empty. And that is why the cybersecurity skills gap, as it is marketed by those people, is a total myth. People need cybersecurity training, which is one of the things that Hack the Box does a really awesome job of doing. And no matter what your role or credentials that you have, you should be a constant learner. You should be constantly upgrading your skills. But that is not the problem. The problem is that these companies are looking for people who don't exist, or they are reluctant to train people. They want unicorns. They want people out of the box who have 40 different niche credentials, and those people don't exist. And instead of training people to have those niche credentials, they just, oh, we're helpless. Oh, I'm a multi-billion-dollar corporation and I'm so helpless. You know how ridiculous that is? Yeah, so I also mentioned there's a real barrier to entry. How is a poor person supposed to enter the cybersecurity industry? College, university education is enormously expensive. That's a major barrier to entry right there. Even if you just go the route of going to CompTIA or Hack the Box or other entities that provide cybersecurity training and credentials, how are they supposed to come up with the money for those training programs? There are some certifications in our industry that cost like several $1,000s just to write the exam. Like, there's a wide segment of our population who can't afford to do that. It's ridiculous. Companies need to be paying for this training. They can afford that money. Fortunately, Hack the Box has a lot of training that is free of charge or really inexpensive, but some cybersecurity training can be really expensive, and that's a major barrier to entry. That was a barrier to entry to me in the industry for a while. It's really ironic. Now I'm in a position where I can afford to spend several $1,000s on my own training if I want to. But to get to the position that I'm in where I'm making enough money that I can afford to do that, like, it's too late now. I've got good paying work. I've got a successful career. I let any of the certs that I used to have expire because I didn't need to do them anymore. I've already, why should you keep up with your certifications if you don't need them in order to maintain your employment? So it's like a catch-22. Now, I wasn't able to afford to do much of this on my own until I was already in a position where now that I can afford to do it, I don't need them anymore. So So I get into that. I try to encourage businesses to pay to train people and to consider for entry-level roles people who have no credentials but who show promise in some areas. This is a fictional job posting, but it's a very realistic fictional job posting. And we actually see job postings that look just like this. And so we've got specialists, entry level, reports to the SOC manager, must have 10 years of Kubernetes experience, 5 years of Windows Server 2019 experience, 5 years Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 experience, a master's degree in computer science or better. This is entry level. Demonstrable ability with the AT&T Cybersecurity Alien Vault Unified Security Management Platform. That's a SIEM. That's a security information and event management technology that people will only have experience with if they've already done work in a security operations center. We need a CISSP. Now, CISSPs not only cost thousands of dollars to acquire, you also need to be in the industry for at least 5 years, like entry level, my ass. EC Council, Certified Ethical Hacker, PMI, Project Management Professional, contributed to at least one entry in the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures database. Oh, look, so we're expecting like basically millions of dollars worth of credentials for an entry-level person. Some of these credentials are actually impossible. You can't have 10 years Kubernetes experience. The technology has not existed for that long, nor has Windows Server been around for 5 years. So Windows Server 2019, I mean. Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 wasn't available until late 2018, May 2019. That's an impossible expectation. We see this all the time. CISSPs are really advanced certs that are really, they're appropriate for someone in an executive position, like a chief information security officer. Asking for a CISSP in an entry-level role is basically like asking for a PhD in an entry-level role. Like it's ridiculous. So I've got your skills gap, folks. It's right here. You're looking for impossible people, and then you're looking to pay people who for millions of dollars worth of credentials, 40 grand a year. And I know that there are a lot of people who would love to be paid 40 grand a year because, you know, people are really financially hurting these days. But someone with a PhD is not going to accept a 40 grand a year job with their PhD. You would hope. Like I make a lot more than that, and I don't have any of those credentials. So Hack the Box is doing a lot of great stuff to counter this problem. We're working with employers. We're giving people free cybersecurity training and also very affordable cybersecurity training. Like we have our VIP program that costs about $20 a month. That's a lot more accessible than thousands of dollars worth of certs. But we have a lot of really archaic expectations that a lot of people in the industry have. I quote Alyssa Miller, who has said a lot of awesome stuff about this topic. So yeah, every time I see the phrase cybersecurity skills gap, while recognizing that cybersecurity training is very important, I know that these industry leaders are talking bullshit. We need to train. We need to, A, invest in people's training, and we need to, B, offer people training that is affordable and accessible. So just going through my book a little more, we've got another 13 minutes here until Kieran Oliver. I get into some like really neat, even though this book should be accessible to non-technical people, I introduce some stuff that is really specific to our industry, like The NIST cybersecurity framework is a policy structure that is used in a lot of businesses to design incident response policies. In cybersecurity, incident response is a group of people, and it's a responsibility and a role where if there's reason to believe that there is some sort of cyber exploitation going on in your network or your computer systems, your job is to respond to it. Your job is to, depending on the situation, either stop the cyber threat from occurring or mitigate the cyber threat, which means to prevent it from doing more damage. And then incident response will try to fix the problem afterward, undo the damage, and they'll work with legal specialists and PR specialists to make sure that the cyber incident does minimal damage to their organization. We've got controlling your data assets, very, very important as well. I go into security testing. So when it comes to security testing, a lot of people are familiar with the term pen testing, and that's the main skill that we try to teach at Hack the Box, which penetration testing is basically you get to pretend to be a cyber attacker and you try to see if your client or the company that you work for can be cyber exploited. So it's a really cool job that a lot of people are really attracted to. I wrote a book about it with Phil Wiley last year, the Pentester Blueprint. Hack the Box is working on providing cybersecurity training in other areas, but we started with pen testing and we specialize in pen testing. It's a growing career field, and I hope people who win our VIP Plus membership giveaway find success in their careers. But there are also other kinds of security testing. Not all organizations are ready for pen testing. You need to have a certain level of security maturity in your organization in order for pen testing to be appropriate. So you need to have the ability to withstand the simulated cyber attacks without destroying your business. So that's one reason why security maturity is important. And then the other reason is you need to be able to do something with the information that the pen testers are giving you in their reports. And if you don't have sufficient security maturity, you're not going to be able to act on your findings very well. And another reason is if you have insufficient security maturity, instead of finding a few problems with your security that you can focus on later on, you're going to find that everything's wrong, everything's broken. There are too many holes, there are too many things to explore. All organizations, regardless of your size, if you've got zero security maturity, if you've got lots of security maturity, can benefit from vulnerability assessments, which is you go through a checklist and you see, is there this wrong? Is that wrong? Are we good on this? Are we good on that? That's a good kind of security testing that all organizations should be doing. Pen testing is for later on when you've got a little bit of security maturity behind your belt. So you've got lots of different ways to find the vulnerabilities in your network so you can make your network and your applications more secure. So, and frequent security testing. So it has to be frequent, it has to be repeated. You don't just do security testing once and forget about it a decade later. It's something that you do every so often, hopefully a few times a year. It depends on the context of your organization. But yeah, always be testing for security. This is a defensive topic. Controlling your data assets is very important. Understanding the human factor, the social element of cyber exploitation is crucial. And then building redundancy and resilience. That's one very important aspect of secure network design is to have redundant servers, redundant bandwidth. It's expensive, it's not appropriate for all organizations, but sometimes being multi-cloud, meaning you don't just have one cloud provider, you don't just have Amazon AWS, you could also have Microsoft Azure as a second cloud provider, you could have Salesforce or Google Cloud Platform is a third cloud provider. So that's another way that you can build redundancy and resilience. If something goes wrong with one of your cloud providers, you've got other ones that are also running your applications and your data. Back up your data locally, so on your own premises. Just have something, have backups, have extra capacity, have extra servers. So if something bad happens to any particular element of your network, you have backups and you have redundant computers that can step up the plate so you don't lose your services and you don't lose your data. In the security in the security culture chapter, I talk about Kevin Mitnick. Kevin Mitnick is very famous, infamous, notorious. He's also my colleague in the sense that his books have also been published by Wiley. And he's perhaps the most notorious former cyber criminal in the world. He got a lot of media attention for his cyber exploits in the 1980s and early 1990s. And one thing that a lot of people don't understand about what Kevin Mitnick used to do is it was completely based, it wasn't completely, but it was mainly social engineering. Most of what Kevin Mitnick did wasn't super complicated technical stuff. It was fooling a human being into getting some information out of them. So I go into that a little bit. I go into hacker culture. This is one of my major pet peeves, both as a Hack the Box employee and as a hacker myself, is the word hacker being used to mean bad guys. Hackers are actually the good guys. They are the inventors of new technology. A lot of the technology we use today was invented by hackers. Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, was a hacker. Linus Torvalds, the guy who started the Linux kernel, he was a hacker. A lot of these brilliant tech people, they were hackers, and they are hackers. So it's very important in my work, because I've spent years writing about cybersecurity and cyber threats, to always call them cyber attackers, cyber criminals, cyber threat actors. Every time I see Wired magazine or some other publication use the word hackers to mean cyber criminal, it pisses me off. So we got 5 minutes left in this presentation. I get into the psychological phases of a cybersecurity professional. These are the epiphanies that I had over time, over the course of my work in the industry. So when we start learning about cybersecurity, we often believe that computer software, hardware, and networks can be made 100% secure. I must learn about everything that makes computers vulnerable so those things can be completely remedied. And then there'll be no more security problems. We learn very quickly that that's a fallacy. Absolutely nothing is 100% secure. Absolutely nothing can be made 100% secure. It's about mitigating risk. It's about deciding where along the usability and security continuum is the best for your organization, and always being prepared for new vulnerabilities to be discovered and new cyber threats to occur. I talk about the complexity of applications by comparing them to the difference between NES games and PS4 games. I love video games, folks. I'll shoehorn a video game reference if I want. Then there's the next phase, overconfidence, which is, I'm brilliant. Why are my users so foolish? They do all these foolish things. How can they be so ignorant? My silly users are the security problem. As for me, I'm a cybersecurity expert, so my habits are perfect, and I could never fall for a social engineering attack. I'm too smart for that. Well, no, actually, people like me, and perhaps me personally, can succumb to phishing attacks, to vishing, to other sorts of. Actually, cybersecurity professionals are targeted by phishing more often these days because we have access to a lot of really lucrative information and access to information systems. And also, don't look down on your users. A better security is built when you don't blame the user for a security issue, when you design the systems so that they are more secure, so that your users don't have to have computer science PhDs in order for them to use your applications in a secure way. I'm all about punching up and not punching down. Don't blame the entities with less power, blame the entities with more power. It is your job as a company and it's your job as an application developer to improve the security of your applications and your networks. Don't blame the users. So that's a big thing. And you go through those phases and then you finally become a wise cybersecurity professional, one that understands that nothing can be made 100% secure, one that knows that you should always be vigilant about security, and one who focuses on designing secure systems rather than blaming end users. So there we go. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. 8 Steps to Better Security. The ebook is available now on pretty much all major ebook platforms. The paperback will be coming out on October 5th, pretty much anywhere that you can buy books about computer technology. And the audiobook will be available in a few months. I know they're working on it. So there you go. So Kieran Oliver is going to be coming up in 10 minutes. And I'm just going to send a message to Chloe, I sent you a message in Zoom. Okay, excellent. So Kieran Oliver is ready to present Leveraging Neurodivergence in InfoSec. So I am going to stop my video and mute, and let's watch what Kieran's got to say. Thank you, Chloe. Kieran, unmute your mic, please. Okay, I'm going to unmute myself. It appears that Kieran is experiencing some audio video issues. So I'm just going to fill in time until. So Chloe is working behind the scenes with Kieran Oliver to work out their technical issues. So I appreciate your patience, folks. I'm going to maybe turn my video feed on so you can see me. All right. Okay, so Kieran is going to reboot their computer. So I appreciate your patience with this. I'm tweeting that their presentation is live, but I would appreciate if you would be patient for a couple of minutes while they reboot their machine. We are currently experiencing technical issues, but you folks can hear me on Twitch, right? Oh, we've got a DisInfosec, please. Oh, see, look how professional Chloe is. Can you folks hear me? Okay, good. Look how well prepared Chloe is. She made this really useful screen. Thank you very much, Chloe. Thanks to Chloe's hard work, this presentation is still like a gazillion times more professional than DisInfosec 2020 was. So I really want to thank Chloe of Flying Cada for her help working on this event. And we're just waiting for Kira and Oliver to reboot their computer. So I am, we love you, Flying Cada. I promise you that Kieran's presentation is going to be well worth the wait. So I appreciate your patience with this. So I am looking at our private Zoom room, and I'll let you know when they've logged back in. Yes, thank you, Maura. You are the matchmaker between me and Chloe. I really appreciate you finding Chloe for me. Yeah. So, yeah, if you still have time, I recommend that you go to bit.ly, so that's bit.ly/DisInfosec VIP, and you can win a Hack the Box VIP Plus membership for a year. This could be your foot in the door in the industry. So, yes, Maura, you are awesome at networking. And you know what? I think a lot of people underestimate our ability to socialize amongst each other. It's like okay, so we're still waiting for Kieran to reboot their computer. This is what newscasters used to do in the 1980s and 1990s. They'd have to, if there were technical issues going on with their newscast, or if all of a sudden there was like an emergency broadcast system alert or something like that, they'd have to be swift on their feet and calm, cool, and collected on the radio as well. Thank you, Maura. And thank you, Chloe. Also go to disinfosec.tech to find out how you can support any of the lovely disabled people that we're raising funds for. I'm still watching the Zoom chat. Technical issues suck, and it must be kind of embarrassing for them. And I would be so stressed out. I actually was recording a podcast, Brian Blake's Breaking Security, last week, and I found that my desktop PC, for some reason, wasn't giving them any audio. And I was like, oh, darn. So I was like, well, thank goodness I have redundant endpoints. So I was like, hold on, I'll relog into Zoom on my MacBook, and we have audio there. So these audio video issues can be really annoying, but they happen to the best of us. And I really appreciate you folks and your patience today. Thank goodness we've built some leeway time into the schedule to compensate for stuff like this. So Why do I feel like humming the Jeopardy theme all of a sudden? Da 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 da. Okay, yeah, it might take. I think Karen Oliver has been rebooting their computer for the past 5 minutes. I appreciate your patience today. Here's a way to kill some time. You folks ask me some questions in the Twitch chat and I'll answer them for you. You can ask me anything. You can ask me like, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? You could ask me what the square root of 4 is. You could ask me about my book. Why is there soap in the logo? That is a great question. Well, the name of the event, DisInfosec, is a portmanteau of disability and infosec. I started the event in 2020 just as the global pandemic was hitting, and we were all learning the importance of frequent and thorough hand washing and disinfecting surfaces and stuff like that. So although the name of the event is a portmanteau of disability and infosec, it's also kind of a play on words like disinfect. So that's why there's a bar of soap in the logo. Oh, and I'm being asked to bring Bear to the live. Well, you know what? I can bring Ossington here. Hey, Ossington. Ossington. Hey. Oh, they want me on camera? They want you on camera, but the camera isn't on. Hey, do you like cuddles? I'm Ossington. I was sleeping, and then my human, like, she picks me up. I'm on Twitter. Ossington the Bear. You want me to type in your Twitter profile into the Twitch chat? Yeah. Okay. So that's twitter.com/Ossington. You tweet a lot, Oz. Cuddles. Yeah, he likes attention. Yeah, I know. You can see the weight screen and not Ossington. That's because the weight screen is what's in the video feed right now. But yeah, you like attention, don't you, Oz? Oh, here's another question. When people ask for certs that aren't necessary, what are some things you can respond with? That is an excellent question. I would improvise in the interview. I would say, okay, I don't have a CEH, for instance, or I don't have a CompTIA Security Plus certification, but here are some reasons why I have those skills anyway. So you could either mention other certs that cover those skills somewhat, or you could mention things that you've done professionally that have involved you using those skills. So that would be my recommendation. There are no positive outcomes with ABA, Riker of all trades. They're scamming you. There are no positive outcomes with gay or trans conversion therapy. There are no positive outcomes with autistic conversion therapy. There are no positive outcomes. Oh, Kieran is back. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, let's switch the video feed to Kieran. Thanks for your patience, folks. Ossington, be quiet. Okay. Okay. They're joining. Good. Okay. So just be patient for. Okay. We're just working on some Zoom stuff behind the scenes. So we're waiting for Kieran to be in join status in the Zoom backend. Okay, just a few more moments, folks. I appreciate your patience. Okay, people love you, Oz. Do you have anything to say before Ren goes on? Follow. Oh, okay. You know what? I'm going to mute. It's Ren's turn. Okay, we're still working on some technical problems here. Everyone loves Ossington, right? Hellos. And Jess is here. I'm glad to see that they're waiting, ready to present. We're still waiting for Kieran Oliver to work out their technical issues. I am so glad that Chloe is working on this. If there's no presentation, I go back to bed. But there's going to be a presentation, Oz. Be patient. Oh, Michael Mitt is here. Hi, Mike. Hey. Yeah. Everyone loves the talking teddy bear. Cuddles. Yeah, they can't see you. They can't see you, Oz, but they can hear you. You tweeted, you said that you were going to crash DisInfosec, didn't you? Yeah, I crashed it to DisInfosec. They wanted me to crash the DisInfosec, and I'm like, yeah. I'll show the teddy.